Once again, Scardor's first theorem is proven right. As long as you complain out loud enough about something not happening when you have the right to it happening, it'll happen, all right? Your chances of it happening will increase by 270% within the next 15 minutes. And what do you know? Voicing your opinions, the way that we did it, not a beauty prize for that one, not a honorable mention, but did it somewhat got organized, somewhat structured, and somewhat had a unified message of, hey, where's our shit? Now, I did say 6 months ago that this was probably going to be a yikes for us, and then they kind of just sidestepped it during the preview, so everyone was like, maybe it's not happening, question mark? But it happened. So for people who didn't play yesterday, so all the cubes and all the flames from all the bosses were all removed in the part of what I tweeted out, one of the top 5 anime betrayals, which was to improve accessibility to cubes and flames, which to many people came as a shock as, wow. So it does seem that they have heard us and that they are taking some action. Actually, right now as recording of this video, the game is down partially to fix that. Also to fix the people who did Arcus before they were allowed to, and before the game was actually supposed to be released. And those people anviled their medals. Those people can crash maps and even other people in the maps and permanently lock them, which would happen to me yesterday. Sorry, not yesterday, 2 days ago, right after the maintenance, right before the reset, which made me miss my dailies for one day and made me miss the Crystal Challenge. Don't know what that was. So they have an update. Hi says removal of the cubes from bosses in all the worlds has been a recent hot topic in the community. That's an understatement, probably. We'd like to share more details of the reasoning behind this implementation, as well as our plans to address the community concerns. While implementing the Cubes and Rebirth Flames Obtainment Improvements, so that's what it was called, Cubes and Rebirth Flames Obtainment Improvements. As part of the Better Maple changes in 2.24, our goal was to improve the obtainment experience by removing the Cube and Rebirth Flames items that dropped at a chance from bosses and adding them to elite monsters and elite champions instead. We believe that this change would lower the hurdle of obtaining these items by allowing players to obtain them while training in maps where elite monsters and elite champions were appear frequently. Our goal was to increase the accessibility of obtaining these items, as well as to provide better experiences through future boss road revamps. So, not technically true. If you ask Korea and you ask KMS, this is what they would say. Because in Korea, this change, and we didn't hear that much negative feedback to this whole system from Korea. They're still working overarchingly. Still one of their topics, one of their topics right now that's active is still boss reward revamping and boss reward reworking and all of that and how that's going to go. So that's not like a done deal yet. But there, as far as I know, there isn't as much negative pushback to this at all. Why? Because cubes and flame drop rate in KMS seems base way lower. Plus KMS caps their drop rate at a lower number. So you can't really just keep stacking on drop rate and get an insane amounts of cubes and flames. So for them, this change wasn't that impactful. They didn't lose that many flames and cubes, and instead they got like a decent amount back, maybe even a little bit more from training. So they ended up with like the same amount or even a little bit more. So for them, it was actually an improvement. Now, so this is the KMS response. The GMS response, the legitimate GMS response was KMS changed this because of how KMS works and their balancing works to improve it for their server. But we were not aware how different the drop rate is in GMS versus KMS and how much the player base relies on the income from these flames and cubes in GMS versus KMS. And even though we have to, in a certain amount of way, copy base code over from KMS so that the versions don't differ too much and become unstable and everything. Tradability, are all of them tradable? Because that would be also a huge part of it, yeah. If in KMS was Musa saying, I don't know if that's 100% true, that KMS flames and cubes are tradable in the regular server, that's a huge difference. Because I think the main access now, and this is why regular servers made a big stink out of this as well. If their stuff isn't tradable at all, that's a huge difference. Plus, the main accessibility that was increased was to Karma flames and Karma cubes. And from what I understand, free-to-play players would use cubes and flames from, would get a lot of drop rate, try to get a lot of cubes and flames, and then sell cube and flame service to other people. But if the access to tradable ones is completely down, or just available ones is just down, and instead you get some kind of access, even if it's through the Legion shop, which is already behind a huge paywall, right, of Legion coins, to Karma instead, you can't use that on stuff that other people... it's like you can't trade that, right? The Karma is only on untradeable stuff, I believe. So you can't sell the service for that. So you don't get to reap that value. So for a free-to-play player, you can't make any money out of it that way. So it's a huge... if that's like the main way that people are making income, and some people responded in the last YouTube video that that's what they were doing in non-reboot to keep making a living, and now they can't do that at all anymore either. So people want the cubes back, right? However, we're gonna see what they're bringing back. They're not just rolling it back and being like, okay, here are your cubes and flames again. Not even close. So what they're doing is, I realized that we may have overlooked the inconvenience this change would cause to players who rely on bosses as their primary source of obtaining cubes, which is, in non-reboot, pretty much everyone who doesn't throw thousands of dollars in the game, and in reboot, everyone up until... Well, actually, I don't think it's ever your major source of cubes in reboot, ever. Because... in the beginning, you don't have enough drop rate, so you don't get that many of them anyway. Arguably of occult cubes, though, in the very beginning. But for Master Craftsman and for Meister, it's never like the major income. And when it does become the major income, like in my situation, when you have so many bossing mules that you can get a lot of them, it's your major income only if you decide to not spend your money on cubes and flames. But if you have the income that you reasonably have at that point, and you spend some of it on cubes and flames, then it'll still be... like the amount that you get from bosses will still be dwarfed by how much you can buy for. But it's definitely occults is like the main thing. So after the 2.24 patch, we apologize for not taking this into consideration, and we worked on a change when we worked on a change, and for not providing a detailed announcement ahead of time. Again, this is always the case, right? It's like, oh, sorry, we didn't do this in advance. But so when are you going to start doing it in advance? Why are you always like apologizing after the fact, right? This was like announced 6 months ago in KMS. Knew this was coming. I already said 6 months ago, like, if you guys are trying to work hardcore and getting like a bunch of bossing mules to make a bunch of flames and cubes to fund your account right now, rethink that strategy, because what KMS is doing is going to pull the rug right underneath you. And if you're really investing for cubes and flames to fund your account, that's just not going to pay off in the long run. So you need to like rethink that strategy then and there. If we can see that, if I can see that, and other people can see that coming from KMS 6 months ahead of time, why do you have to apologize the day after that you didn't announce it? Why not just... why every time apologize for not doing it in advance, right? Why just... it's easier to ask for forgiveness than for permission. Yeah, so this kind of comes down to like it feeling really scummy, because it's like now it seems... right, like let's say that they announced it 2 months in advance. There's a bunch of back and forth, and 1 month in advance they say like, okay, we're going to do this, and then there's a little bit more back and forth, and then they adjust it a little bit more, and then 1 week or 2 weeks before the patch, they're like, okay, this is the final thing we're doing, and everyone's like, well, okay, it's not like perfect, but I guess we'll do that. Now instead, what they do is, okay, just it gets completely called back. Everyone's like, okay, what the fuck? And then the day after, they're like, okay, we're rolling it back slightly, and now everyone's like, okay, that's better than nothing, and then we settle. And everyone's like, kind of... now everyone's like, well, they listened, and they kind of did what we wanted, like in the same direction. So I guess we'll take this. But what we all agree on is what we want the system to start earlier. The whole structure just feels... it doesn't feel good. PR 101 says, you always say thank you for waiting instead of saying sorry for the problem. Well, but they don't say thank you, right? They say apologize. Defense is not a problem, and then when players get mad, they fix it. It's their own way of justifying their job's existence. Well, it's not just that. It's more like doing the bare minimum, right? If nobody makes enough of a stinker, then you don't have to do anything, right? Because things should just go on as normal. If you only do it when there's insane like backlash, then you're just gonna. Well, it's gonna have two things. You're just gonna have a player base who flips their shit over everything, just in the hopes that you fix something, or in the hopes that they get something more from it. And you got a bunch of devs who are like, oh, this community is so annoying and so toxic because they're always complaining about everything. This like breeds into each other very negatively both ways. Yeah. It's just that all of this just feels really... after version 2.24 patch notes and the game update went live, we kept a close eye on players' feedback and saw the concerns regarding the cube removal change. So flames have now been completely ignored, I guess. We initially reviewed the decision. I get probably like 10 to 12 or so eternal flames a week usually from my bosses. So I guess we can say those goodbye. About 10 to 12 Meister cubes, I would say as well. I guess there's nothing happening with those. Well, they said cubes, so I think they're adding the Meisters back, like somewhat. But flames, I guess, are completely gone. Thank God we can just buy powerful flames from the store, so they'll just have to replace that. But it does still feel weird. Like, and again, if this is like part of overall balancing because you think we have access to too many and you want to lower it, then just talk about that. But if the whole point is to give us access to more and you end up giving us access to less, then every complaint, I think, is justified. Not because we're getting less, so boohoo, less is bad, but because we're getting less when you were trying to give us more, so what you're implementing is not doing what was intended on the implementation. So we should complain about that, right? So what did it say? We urgently reviewed the decision to remove cubes from bosses. We decided that while keeping cubes as drops from elite monsters and elite champions, they say here keeping cubes as drops from... I haven't seen a single one. I don't know. How many have you guys seen? I saw one powerful flame and one eternal flame in like a combination of 4.5 hours of killing. Me personally. But how many cubes have you guys seen from elite monsters and elite champions? You saw 2 Master Craftsman cubes, and you're the only person who didn't say 0. I got 1 Master Cube of my first E-mob. 1, 0, 0, 1 Meister, 1 Eternal, 1 Master Craftsman, 2 WAPs. Yep. I've seen 1 to 2, but it seems like I was super lucky. Yep. You've seen 0 because you haven't played? Okay, at least that's fair. Version 2.24.2, gaslighting the player base. I hunted elite bosses and monsters with full drop gear and got 0. Yeah, that's another thing. On my in the half hour that I mentioned that I was on my Adele, I got 3 elite bosses and 2 runes of darkness. So that was a total of 3, 6, 6, 12. And I think I got 1 in training map as well. It's like 12 or 13 elites that I killed. And I got 1 eternal from that. But that's the equivalent of... That should be the equivalent of like... 40 minutes of grinding. To an hour, depending on where you're training at. We decided that keeping cubes as drops from elite monsters and champions, we will add cubes back to the boss rewards in all worlds, but at a lower obtainment of 70 to 80% of the amount that players used to obtain from bosses prior to the version 2.24 update. Plan to implement this change before the upcoming weekend during an unscheduled maintenance. So that's right now as the recording of this. Please keep an eye on the news page of our official website search for more details. Seriously apologize for the inconvenience. We will continue to monitor different aspects of the game to improve your MapleStory experience. All right, so you know what to do, guys. Now you need to make a huge stinker out of not getting flames anymore. Yeah, I don't know. So what is... So let's see. So what is 20%? Let's just do the maths, right? They wanted to improve how many cubes and flames we get. So they're dropping... the amount from bosses by 20 to 30%. So let's say 25%, right? By a quarter. How many cubes do you guys usually get per week from bosses? So if I think back for me, I'm such an outlier though because of all of the weeklies I do. But I probably get in a week. I probably get over. No, because of the hard bosses I do as well. Hard bosses drop so many, and apparently Damien and Lotus still dropped cubes or some shit as well. One character? No, well, we're looking at the total, right? Maybe that's the main problem here, is that you can't reduce it by this big a percentage because you can upscale how many bosses you do when you access another character in a week, but you can't really upscale how much you're already training because most people already train as much as they can. But I think I'm pretty sure I easily get around 40 Master Craftsman cubes, and I would say about 12 or so Meisters, 10 to 12 Meisters per week, I would say. So let's say 50 cubes in total. So I lose a quarter of that. So I lose 1/4. Is 20? No. What? 1/4. I can't math right now. 50 divided by 4 is 12 and a half. So like let's say that I'm left with 37. So I'm supposed to get like, so let's say I lose 13. So I'm supposed to get more than 13 per week while training now. I trained 4 hours already this week. At most, I trained 10 hours. So during those 10 hours, I'm supposed to get 13 extra cubes, which means more than 1 per hour, 1.5 per hour if I want to get like 15, if I wanted to increase. And so far, I've done already 4 hours and I've gotten 0. So in the next 6 hours, I'm going to have to get 2.5 cubes an hour on average if I want my cube average to go up. There's just no way. There's no way that overall that this is an increase. Even dropping at 70 to 80%. I feel like the drop rate from elites has to be multiplied by like 5x or something. Can we use it as drops from elite monsters and elite champions? Yeah. Yeah, we already laughed about that one. I just want another sherbet compensation. No. Stop with just wanting compensation. You should want the game to be fixed and not to want the band-aid so that you can stop worrying and stop caring about the game underneath, the festering wound underneath the band-aid. You should want the game to work as they say that they want it to work and as we want it to work, not just give you a band-aid and then be happy with that one. If you're okay with the band-aid, then you should probably just move on from this game because you stopped caring about this game and how the game works. And it's better for you, better for everyone that you just find something else that you can actually like give a fuck about. And we were in damage gear though. We don't know if the drop rates affect the cube rates. That is true. I had a little bit of drop rate on for the Adele, but it's really hard to compare. Yeah. Yeah, there are moving parts there. But the problem is we don't know any of the rates. We don't know any of the numbers. We don't know what is the base rate, how much does it go up to, what is the normal. Because like if you kill, honestly, if you kill like hard Lotus, hard Damien, Ferris Hillock, Sea Gloom, hard Darknell, and hard Lucid and hard Will, and you're the one who gets to loot the cubes, just from those 7 bosses together, I think in a week, if you get to loot all of the cubes there, you can easily loot like 5 Master Cubes per boss. Sometimes it goes up to like 7 or 8, but let's say 5 each. That's like 35 Master Craftsmen already. So that's going to go down to like 25, 26. I don't know, man. 27. Down to like 27. So then you're supposed to make 9 extra cubes when training. Even if you train in drop rate gear, you make 9 cubes in a week. Yeah, the main thing was like the extra little bit of Master Craftsman and Powerful Flames you get sometimes from regular monsters. which was a big incentive also to actually do your weekly bosses, not just, for the soul shards and for the off chance of getting some equips and everything. But a little bit of income on flames and cubes can go a long way on a new character. Now you're essentially just forced to stick to occult cubes, event cubes, and to using and event flames, and to buying Master Craftsman and powerful flames from the shop. Well, I mean, back in my day on my DA, I bought a lot of right, that's a spinning fan. I shouldn't put something in there. I bought a lot of Master Craftsman cubes in the shop to get myself started in the beginning. But I mean, yeah, this is interesting. I mean, the 70 to 80% coming back. I wonder if they're going to do anything with the flames coming back, because how many flames did you guys get actually? Let's pull that. Like, for how much you guys trained, how many flames did you get from elites? Because personally, I saw a bit more of those. But I mean, it's 2 versus 0. It's kind of like asking how many droplets did you get. Someone's going to say 0 and someone's going to say 8. Like, the standard deviation is super wide, right? Yeah, that's what I've been saying. Like, for me, this change isn't that bad, the fact that the flames and the cubes are gone, because I was kind of like struggling to find what to cube. Like, I would go to characters that I'd already completed Project CRA with to get their secondaries and their emblems to unique with Master Craftsman cubes. That's like the only thing I could find to do with Master Craftsman. And when it comes to flames, like, all the characters have like okay flames. The only thing I was doing is after Project CRA, I would take the CRA gear and upgrade the flame on their CRA gear with my flames that I was getting. Other than that, I've got like nothing to cube into flame. So again, like, I'm in a really good position to not get hurt too much by this because of how I play the game. But a lot of other people aren't in a privileged position where they can spend as much time and do as many things whenever they want, and they get hurt way harder by this. So I mean, I do see it as my responsibility to like speak out for those people. You got 1 in 6 hours, 0, 0, 0 and 2 totems, 0 flames, 1 flame and 2 totems, 0, 0. Doing daily bosses for like 3 minutes. I will get more flames and 4 totems. Yeah, it seems like it. Nice to meet you. 안녕하세요. Johnny, like Johnny Tib. Okay, seems like nobody's getting any flames or any cubes. You guys might give some skewed results, but actually I trust you guys because you are my viewers. So you guys would never lie. You guys would never go on the internet and tell lies. That's not something you do. So if they're bringing 70 to 80% back, that should be nice. But again, I wonder what happened to the flames. Do we not care about the flames at all? Yeah, I think they're mainly listening to the non-reboot voices in this, where in non-reboot people are like, oh, free-to-play non-reboot is completely dead. Even like pay-to-win people in non-reboot are going to have to spend way more money and are not planning on doing that. Although reboot should be the biggest player base, so reboot cubes going down should be pretty important as well. But hey, reboot people, do you still want your eternal flames from bosses? Weekly bosses is where you get all your eternal flames, my dudes. Like, if you have to start buying eternal flames with event currency, that's not a great look. Okay, that's like desperation. That's desperation buying. 250 mil each. Yeah, fuck all of that, dude. If you want to get Eternals long term in reboot, I'm telling you, they come from weekly bosses. So if you want your flames back and you want your future for flames, then make sure that you make as much a stinker about that as you did about cubes, because in the long term, that's where you get all of your great Eternals. If you want to transpose your pap marks, you want to transpose your what else do you transpose? The Dominator pendants, or get great flames on your arcanes and stuff. Because right now you might feel like it's going to be like, oh, you had a lot of flames, maybe from compensation, but once all of those are dried up, it's slim pickings when it comes to Eternals. Okay. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about all of this, about the reaction, about how the topic was uttered, how much time they had to talk about everything and how they handled it. How do you see all of this? And what do you think about the change that they're implementing right now? Do you think that's enough? Do you think it's a little too late? Give me your opinion, because it's important, because how we look at this game and how we talk about all of this is just important to think about, okay? So give me some real feedback, all right? Dig in the noggin. Tell me what you really think, all right? See you on the next one. Hopefully more positive. Bye. It's Reboot's turn. Okay. Are we getting our pitchforks? Hello, yes, I'm not receiving any flames from my daily bosses. Please fix this bug at your earliest convenience. Okay, well, looks like I spoke too soon. I want to say like Hello Fresh instead of Hello Yes, but do you guys know what Hello Fresh is? No, it seems like Reboot has already started. Good. Keep it going. Strong warriors. Keep the movement going, okay? Stay strong. Stay strong. Hold the line.